All right, all right, all right. Welcome in. This is Toilets to Titles. This is episode number 134. Tonight, we are talking about the Fantasy Football Expo. All right, I'm here with my man, George Reed. And with us this evening, we get to introduce the man behind the Expo. We get to interview him this evening. It's Bob Lung at Bob_Lung. You could also follow him at the FF Expo. Bob, what's cooking?
Guys, thanks for having me. Always a pleasure. Honored to be here. And I know George made it to the Expo. Coach, you made it to the Expo. So you guys can speak from experience that we had a pretty good time last year. And we plan on making this bigger and better this year. So you folks out there have not got your tickets, you better do it quick because we start ordering T-shirts August 1st. And you may not get your size. So make sure you do that.
Man, well, the Fantasy Football Expo, I want to call it the FF Expo because I like speak in Twitter terms because I spend so much time on there. But in the real world, it's called the Fantasy Football Expo, and it's actually responsible for bringing me and George together. We were on like opposite squads last year, and Justin was the middleman, and I got to meet George, and it was I remember it was on the way out the last day there. But George, you've been a busy man. Before we get into Fantasy Expo discussion, why don't you tell us what you've been up to, man?
Doing a bunch of mid-season reviews for the 32 NFL teams. I'm not doing all 32 teams. I'm not that good, but I just finished up the AFC East. I just did, matter of fact, like 30 minutes ago, I just got off with Eric Crocker and Michael Hoff from the Hayden Hurst Podathon and Locked On 49ers. We did the 49ers episode. So that one's just came out. That was an amazing episode. But that's what I've been doing. But I'm here to talk with Bob, man. Let's get into the Expo. That was such a blast last year. And especially after a COVID year where everything was kind of shut down and, you know, a lot of people were cooped up in the houses, like actually being able to go out and meet people that you talk to on a daily basis on Twitter, but actually get to put the face with the body and interact in person. Oh, it was so great. Had such a great time last year.
We've had a chat together since like January planning our trip to the FF Expo. Like we originally started with one house. Now we have two houses. We have a schedule of events. So like there's a Fantasy Football Expo schedule of events. We have a Toilets to Titles schedule of events. So we're going real crazy. So yes, it is a big deal for us to have you on because whether you know it or not, the Fantasy Football Expo has been a huge part of what we've been doing at Toilets to Titles and what we're getting prepared for. I can't wait to meet all the guys. You know, I can't wait to meet you again, meet everybody else. But Bob, we have a bunch of questions here this evening. So me and George,
Perfect. That's what I'm here
put
for,
our heads together. And George, I'm going to let you start, man. Why don't we start with some of these questions?
All right. So me and Bob have done a show before. We talked when I was with the other group. We had Bob on last year leading up to the Fantasy Football Expo because I was doing draft night out. I'm doing draft night out again this year. That's such a great time. But so I know the answer to a lot of these, but the people tuning in probably don't. So Bob, what's it like for you the week leading up to the Expo? I imagine it's super crazy. You've got the Hall of Fame stuff going on. You've got this Expo that you've taken on as well. Like, what's that? How crazy is that week leading up?
Well, yeah, the next 2 weeks after this week is what I call my pure fantasy football time, right? So, you know, and George, I think you know this. I don't remember if Coach knows this, but I've been a Hall of Fame volunteer driver for the last 33 years. So I drive an enshrinee every year during Hall of Fame weekend, usually Wednesday through Sunday. Last year I had John Lynch. I've had Al Davis, John Madden, Kurt Warner. Met just about every Hall of Famer at least once in my lifetime. And this year I have the honor of now having my first father-son combination. I will be driving Mark Davis, the owner of the Raiders, during this weekend. He will be presenting for the just recently passed, I think within the last couple of years, Cliff Branch from the Raiders. He's going to be there to present for his family. So I get to meet Mark for the first. I mean, I met Mark just in passing when I had his dad Al. I think I said hi to him, and you know, I don't know if he'll remember that because it was 16 years ago. But I've always been kind of a closet Raider fan outside of being a Browns fan since I live in Northeast Ohio. But I'm really excited about this. I've never really actually got to spend a lot of time with Mark, so Always excited to just to have this weekend. It's a blast. It's just so much fun to be right in the middle of, the best players ever, and listen to the stories and just watch them interact. It's kind of like if somebody was on the outside of the fantasy football community and then was in there kind of seeing what's going on and meeting, watching the best guys talk about their ideas and their analysis. That's how I feel when I'm there for Hall of Fame.
Man, when you listed off some of the names you've driven, I was just thinking, like, you mentioned Al Davis, John Lynch, John Madden, and then you mentioned Kurt Warner. And yes, he belongs in that conversation, but imagine telling Kurt Warner, like, when he was stacking shelves, like, one day someone will talk about driving you in Canton, Ohio in the same sentence as, that's, I'm sure that would have blown his mind back then. But man, all right. So you said you're driving around Mark Davis this year, huh?
Mm-hmm.
So that, are you going to tell him? You got any stories to tell him about his father, or was the drive too quick?
No, actually, and I don't know if we have time for the whole story, but
okay, go ahead.
When Al came in, he was presenting for John Madden's induction that year, right? So somebody had asked, we kind of have our own little fantasy draft when it comes that time of the year. Like, who do you want to drive? So I'm number 4 in seniority. And cool. So, I have the 4th pick in the fantasy driving draft, I guess. And so that year I wasn't that far in, but because he was a presenter, I had a shot at him. And somebody said, well, who's going to be dumb enough to drive Al Davis? And I'm like,
this guy, I'll do it.
And I'm like, dumb? Why would you call it dumb? They're like, this guy's he's a whack job. He's totally nuts. And they're like, how do you know that? You don't know the guy. Well, have you seen the stuff he does? This, that, And I'm like, so anyway, I wasn't worried. I'm like, I don't care. So I show up at the airport to pick him up, and here comes 4 people off the plane ahead of him, right? Now it was a private plane, so I'm in the private plane area. And they're like, are you Bob Long? Are you driving Mr. Davis? And again, they all called him Mr. Davis. And I said, yes, I am. They said, okay. Do you have a black Lincoln town car? Yes, I do. Because that's the only thing he would ride in. So they're like, okay. And then out of like my right side, I see 4 police officers walking up. And now they start talking to me. They're like, are you the driver for Al Davis? And I'm like, yes. They're like, hi, we're your police escort for the entire weekend.
Dang.
I'm like, so you're telling me I don't have to stop at a stoplight for the next 5 days? They're like, that's correct. Every time we go to a major event during this weekend, we will escort you and Mr. Davis personally.
Must be nice.
Bob's like, I won the lottery.
And then the quirkiness comes out, right? So one of the guys says, look, when Mr. Davis gets in the car, you're not to speak to him until he speaks to you. Ooh, okay. Now we're getting quirky. And I'm like, all right. So long story short, we're driving to the hotel. And Al Davis says to me, hey, I see a sign for Alliance, Ohio. He goes, is that close? I go, yeah, it's like 20 minutes away. And he said, well, my college roommate still lives in Alliance. And I said, would you like me to look him up and see if he still lives there? And if he still, he goes, I haven't talked to him in years. I don't even know if he's alive. And I said, all right, well, what's his name? So, and it was not it wasn't like Joe Smith. So it was uncommon enough that I looked it up. And I got his phone number, called the guy, and it was his roommate from college. So they got together. I became Al Davis's best friend now. Like, I'm in the circle of trust. So he was like, oh my gosh, I can't thank you enough. And so at the end of the weekend, he says, what can I do? You were so nice and so helpful, and you found my roommate, and I'm just so honored and pleased. And he starts handing me money. I'm like, I'm not taking your money. He goes, you got to do something. I said, look, I'm a Raiders fan, all right? Send me anything with a Raiders insignia, logo, something. That's fine. He says, all right, give my assistant your address. 2 weeks later, I got a box. I kid you not. It must have been 2 feet high by 2 feet wide, just stuffed. Shirts, hats, jerseys, jackets, you name it. Just loaded with the Raiders stuff, right?
Yeah.
He's like one of the most generous people I've ever driven in my entire. And once I was in that circle of trust, like he was super nice. It's very, all the awkwardness dropped, like the quirkiness dropped, you know, and it was just like, wow. But then again, think about where he comes from. Like,
Right.
Who is he going to trust?
Right.
You know, how many people tried to take advantage of him in the early
Yeah.
days? So, you know, it's like on one side you go, this guy's a weirdo. And the other side is like, put yourself in his shoes and what he's done and what, you know, it's a different world. So that's my Al Davis story. He's a super nice guy. And I try to tell people, no, it was actually a lot of fun and I really enjoyed it. So.
Man, what I would have asked him for, so you said you're fourth in line, right? Like you get to make the fourth selection. Mm-hmm. I would have asked him to get rid of the 3 people in front of me.
Yeah, the sad part is like we're almost the same age, so you know, unless I'm knocking some people off here, you know.
Well, I didn't say. Well, you don't need to necessarily know. You know, when you talk to a guy like Al Davis, I'm sure they got their methods. But all right, so now we'll move on to a little bit of Fantasy Football Expo specific stuff here. Yep. What made you get into, you know, taking on the challenge of creating the Fantasy Football Expo?
Well, it was the combination of this, living in Canton my entire life, growing up here, having the Hall of Fame right in front of me every day when I'm driving around town. You know, my dad, my grandfather, we went to, I probably as many Hall of Fame games as I can think of. Seemed like we went every year. We were always there, you know, because it's like, oh my gosh, you know, that's, you know, but back in the day kind of people, right? That's, you know, Joe Namath and, you know, Johnny Unitas and some of the best from the 70s being inducted. And I grew up watching them on TV and, you know, and here they are. But the event for years was this small little 2-day event. They used to do the enshrinement on the steps of the Hall of Fame, and you could bring your own lawn chair and sit on the grass across the street to watch it. Maybe 200 people, maybe.
It's like a fireworks show, like a town fireworks show. Yeah.
They had a parade. They had the game. Everything was done in less than 2 days. Like it was just boom, boom, boom. Everything's done. Everybody's gone. Now it's a 5-day extravaganza with, you know, national TV coverage. 23,000 people pack the stadium for enshrinement, for the enshrinement itself. It's on ESPN. You know, we've got a concert. Journey's playing at a concert on Friday night. It's a massive thing. So when I started to get deeper and deeper into the fantasy community about 10 years ago, I started thinking in my head, like, you know, you really should do something fantasy-wise. We have the Hall of Fame. Why would we not? We've got like the perfect location. And I kind of would bring it up to people as, of course, I knew everybody in the hall because I'd seen them every year. And I kept saying, you know, this fantasy football stuff's kind of getting to be a big deal. We really should look into trying to do some fantasy things here. And they'd be like, pat me on the head, like, oh, that's a good idea. Never happened. And so in 2018, I kind of had this idea about, you know, fantasy football at the time did not have a pure best of the best drafting live together, face-to-face, live on Sirius XM, radio, that kind of stuff. But baseball had been doing it for years. Baseball had a thing called the Tout Wars and Labor, which I forget what that stands for, but basically 2 big leagues where they had like the best of the best like draft live in New York City. And I'm like, football doesn't have this, and we're the biggest fantasy sport. Why not? So I finally got the nerve, and I emailed Mike Clay at ESPN, and I'm like, hey, Mike, you know, look, if this idea sounds dumb, don't worry about it. I said, but here's my idea. Live draft, Hall of Fame, inside. They got this big place called the Gold Jacket Lounge, which is you can rent for events. Sirius XM come in, do it like they do the baseball. What do you think? And 5 minutes later, I got a forward from Mike, from Brad Evans, who said the same thing to Mike, but his last sentence was, if only we had a cool place to hold it.
Huh.
I got an idea.
What
and so,
place,
as
right?
they say, the rest is history. I emailed back Mike and Brad, and I said, why don't we do this the Hall of Fame? Here's my idea to Mike. And you know, when you get those kind of big boys behind you, kind of hard not to be excited about it, right? So they got Andy Behrens and Dave Richards to buy in, and boom, next thing you know, we got 24 people coming to the Hall of Fame, and we had our Kings Classic draft, and now we're in our 5th year. The Expo idea came in 2019 when kind of the same thing. People were bitching about, they went to the Tony Romo National Fantasy Football Conference in Dallas, and they said it was horribly expensive. Like a booth was like $1,200, and that was a cheap one. It was $100 to get into the event. And
I went to that. It was insane. It cost a ton of money to get in. You really you couldn't really even see people. You'd see them in passing, but you couldn't walk up to anybody that was a guest there and just talk to them for the most part. Like that was not happening at all.
And they said there was no fantasy aspect. There was no panel discussions. There was nothing.
None. The 2019, we did the first draft night out there. That's where we did the original one. We actually paid a boatload of money to they called it SportsCon, the sports convention.
Now
we paid a bunch of money to them for the sponsorship because we needed a proof of concept at the time. So we paid for a sponsorship from them, and they sponsored the event. And we did all the work. We hooked everything up, but it was literally the only fantasy football event that whole weekend.
Yep. So everybody comes back, and George knows. A bunch of people came back, and I saw it on Twitter. They were all complaining, man, I wish we had an expo like at our level, the people that don't do this for a full-time job, and we all have other jobs on our, for our dailies. And I said, well, I'm doing this Kings Classic thing, so all the guys are already there. Why don't we just add the expo to Sunday and we'll just make a weekend out of it? So we did. And we all got together Saturday night at the BW3s locally. And it was just this amazing camaraderie, and people were all excited. Like, I just got to talk to Mike Clay. I just talked to Brad Evans, Marcus Grant, and they realized they're just as cool as we are. They don't have these big egos. They don't talk down to you just because you're not on ESPN. And people are like, this is great. And so I said, all right, well, if this works, let's keep this going. Well, 2020 had a different idea. So like you said, 2021, we're coming out of COVID and people kind of cooped up, and we went from 75 people attending that expo in 2019 to over 500 last year. And this year we'll be close to 6-7 probably.
Let's get that number up over 1,000.
I was hoping for 1,000, but the price of gas and travel, I think, nipped that in the bud real quick. So maybe 1,000 next year. That's my goal next year.
I'm squeezing 5 people in my car, my little car this year.
So God bless everybody out there who is making it, because that means a lot. Because I'm out here in California with my family for a wedding, and it was not cheap to fly out here. So
last year I flew to the expo. This year I'm driving. It just with the cost of everything, it's actually cheaper for me to drive from Florida than it is to fly.
Oh, I can believe that. So
he's actually
that's how
hitching
it
a wagon.
All came together. Huh?
I was saying he's hitching a wagon to his friend Jason, and he's carrying him up there. Bad joke. George, you got. Let's move. So you could crickets. That was completely crickets. I'm sorry, I ruined the mood. But George, you got some more questions. Go ahead.
I'll jump in here and I'll save you, Coach. It's okay. Just leave the jokes to me. I'm funny looking, funny individual. Just leave me. I'm just funny. So are you planning on doing the expo every year in Canton, or is this something that eventually you're looking maybe to move it around to different cities or anything like that?
Excuse me. I really don't think I'll move it, and not just because I live here, but right now around the Hall of Fame Museum, they're building this village, they call it. Now, I've never been to Cooperstown, but they said Cooperstown is very similar to what this idea is based on, is that there's a museum, and then there's these shops and restaurants and bars and other things to do that makes it more of a family event. So same thing, the guy who is the CEO of the village is actually a former Disney executive. So his idea is Disneyland for football. So he's going to have a water park. We're going to have there'll be a sports book next year because gambling will be legalized. There's a Don Shula's steak restaurant. There's going to be a Starbucks. There's going to be, they got this dome field. We're going to have Saturday night parties in. So we're hoping that within the next couple of years, this becomes a family vacation that dad can bring the wife and kids. Wife and kids go to the water park and the amusement park while he does the football stuff, or vice versa, whatever. We don't care. But now it provides more. So I feel like as this village continues to grow, there's more new things to do. Oh, they're going to put an esports arena in. Next year, we're hoping to have a Madden competition.
Hell yeah. NCAA. Hopefully NCAA is back by then. And then we do some of that.
Right. So like I said, there's going to be a sports book. So I think as long as that keeps growing and we keep adding, I think it's going to be fun to do. I mean, the problem with moving it is that I think it kind of loses the small hometown. Like, you can get to anywhere in Canton in 10 minutes. It doesn't matter what hotel you stay at. You can get to the Centennial Plaza. You can get to the Hall of Fame. You can get to wherever in 10 minutes. You can't do that in Cleveland, in New York, or Vegas, or, plus, guess what? Those towns are a lot more expensive to hold the things.
Yeah.
And that's not what this is about. I don't want to have to triple the price for everything because now the venues are triple the price to rent. Canton's a nice, cheap, relatively inexpensive place to stay, place to buy food, place to, it's very centrally located between Chicago and New York and Indy and, all the major towns. So for now, we're going to stay in Canton and we'll see what happens.
Man, we got some more questions, but I'm going to bypass some of them quick. We'll get back into the other ones, but you said everything's about 10 minutes away. Chuck, if you're listening, Chuck's our editor. He makes some clips. You're going to want to clip this because this is going to be the juicy content that everybody that's going to the FF Expo, they're going to need to hear these answers. All right, here's my next 3 questions. First one, best burger. Where's the best burger?
Wegmans.
He's thinking about it. All right, take your time. Take your time. Best pizza.
Best pizza is Pizza Oven. It's a local chain.
I'm writing it down.
Grease just drips off. It's fantastic. It's even better the next morning cold.
Okay, so Pizza Oven. I wrote that down because we're having a pizza party at the Toilets to Title House Friday night. I'm sure you're going to be busy, but you're more than welcome to come. So I'm going to Pizza Oven. Best ice cream.
There is a place called, oh God, I just went brain dead.
It's fine. I know I'm putting you on the spot.
They sell something called Bittner's. Why can I not think of this damn place?
All right, we'll circle back. I'm sure.
We'll circle back to that one. Let me think about that.
We'll circle back to that in Best Burger when it's going to pop in your head.
Sorry,
Taggers. Okay.
Taggarts. Taggers. Get the Bittner with
Arts. The Bittner.
They have a special Sunday called the Bittner. It's amazing.
Wrote it down. All right. So when the best burger comes to you during the rest of the episode, I don't care when it is. George could be mid-sentence. You just jump in. You let us know. I'm gonna write that down. George, back to you.
So obviously there's been a lot of planning that goes into this expo. It's not just something that you could do by yourself. Do you have a team that helps you with this, or you take it all on yourself?
The planning part is pretty much all on myself. Now, the weekend, you will see every part of my family here. My wife will be there. My kids will be there. Their significant others and husbands will be there. It is a family affair. All of our friends, people from our church, they're all volunteering for the weekend. So like I said, it's kind of like a mini Hall of Fame weekend. Everybody likes to do it. They love to help out. And it's a lot of fun. So, I need some Twitter volunteers to help me with the quarterback skills challenge, just catching and throwing footballs back and forth. But right now I'm pretty set. And I couldn't thank those volunteers enough. We'll have a big volunteer party at my house on Labor Day weekend. So, but yeah, it's, but the whole, what happens, how it happens, I'll bounce things off them, but it's pretty much all mine.
Wow. So we talked earlier with what all was there last year. There was a couple of parties. We had the expo itself, the Kings Classic draft night out. This year you've added a bunch of events. I know we touched on some of them, but right. Can you give a list of events that have been added for this year? Because I know it's
yeah. So So I think that probably the funnest part about this expo is that it's ever changing. And why is it ever changing? Because everybody on Twitter comes up with cool ideas. I mean, 90% of this expo is not my ideas. I didn't come up with the cornhole. I didn't come up with the flag football. I didn't come up with the quarterback skills challenge. Somebody else did. Said, hey, we should do this. Drew Davenport and Joe Bryan from Football Guys. Hey,
Yep.
we have a poker tournament? Sure, why not?
I'm going to that. I'm going to the poker tournament. I'm looking forward to it.
They put it out there. They said they would take 60 people, and I think they sold it out in like less than, 6 weeks.
Yep.
Last year we just had a get together Friday night at the hotel. And I'm like, well, why don't we just have a actual full blown party? So we decided to move the Centennial Plaza, which we did last year Saturday, move that to Friday night, since then everybody can walk down the street and go to it from the DoubleTree, or some people might have to drive. And then somebody came up with the idea of like, well, we should have a cornhole tournament. Oh, I'd like to play cornhole. Sounds like a blast. Well, guess what? There's a company called Slick Woodies in Canton. They sell professionally made cornhole boards across the world, and they're very well known. They sponsor a bunch of teams, and they have a lot of their boards are used in championship competitions. And I met them a couple years ago for a charity function where, for I think it was like $300 donation, you got your own personalized, like smaller tailgate boards, but you could put your logo on it. So I got them, Big Guy Fantasy Sports, and I thought that was super cool. And so I reached out to them and I said, hey, we're having this party. It's down at Centennial. I'm thinking about having a cornhole tournament. You interested? And they said, yeah, we'll sponsor it. We'll provide all the boards. We'll provide all the bags. We'll handle everything for you. All we ask is that you let us hand out flyers so that people can buy those boards like I did.
Fair.
Okay. There we go.
Done.
So again, we put it out there for 64 people. So 32 teams, again, full in 6 weeks. So, that's Friday night. Another thing that a lot of people forget about the fact, but it's on the website, Friday night at that party, everybody who buys that $75 weekend package is eligible to win a $2,000 entry into the FFPC Millionaire Competition. So if you're there, we're gonna draw that to give away that $2,000 entry. They donated that, without even me asking. They reached out to me. So again, somebody came up with the idea, hey, can we give away this $2,000 entry? Yes. So we did. So we are. So we can just keep adding. People keep, and that's what's awesome. So like you said, Saturday, so draft night out, of course, going on at the Dome. So everything's in the Dome on Saturday because it's very expensive to rent. You can imagine. So I'm like, well, can I have it for the whole day? And they're like, what are you going to do during the day? I go, we're going to have all of our drafts there. We're going to have draft night out part. The draft night out guys are going to be there. We're going to do the Kings Classic in the lobby where Sirius XM is going to be. And oh, by the way, in between your drafts or after you get done, go ahead, throw the footballs around. They'll be there. So we're going to be at the Dome all day on Saturday. And then again, last year, this started with the flag football thing. And I was like, oh, sounds very dangerous. But so I'm like, wow, hey, we have this Dome now. Let's do this. So I came up with this mini idea of mini tournament. And we need 16 teams. I think we're at 12. So anybody out there, put together some teams here in the next couple of weeks for me. And then the other half of the field, we're going to do the quarterback skills challenge. That kind of came from everybody wanting to have a combine. And I was like, combine sounds really dangerous. Yeah, I think, we're not doing 40-yard dashes where everybody's going to pop a hamstring or Achilles. Then I thought about the idea of doing a punt, pass, and kick, kind of the old school for you back in the day kids.
Yep.
And then I was like, you know what? 2 of those events are kicking. And you know what goes as you get older? Your legs. And it gets very ugly. I used to be a really good punter. I used to be able to kick the ball really far. I can't. So I'm like, let's just do passing. So I figured that is something everybody can throw a football, maybe not that great, but, let's just do this for fun. So we have 3 stations. One is knocking down targets. One is throwing footballs into big trash cans, or I call it dropping dimes. We all know that. And then the last one's a big target, like a actual target that's used for quarterbacks, and it has 3 holes on it with points, and then you get points, and then the farther you scoot back, more points you get. So that's how we're going to do it. And then, of course, Trophy Smack is donating all awards. So if you win the cornhole, you get what they call their champ medals, like it's like some big
their chain,
Flavor Flav kind of thing. And then the
U.
Yeah, there you go. The flag football is the winner will get gold Super Bowl, championship rings for every team member, and then the second place will get silver. And then for the quarterback skills challenge, first place overall gets a championship belt and in gold, and then there will be a silver championship belt. So Trophy Smack supporting all of that. So it's going to be awesome. We can, and then of course the expo on Sunday, 50 booths, 4 different rooms of panel discussions going on all day. Every genre you can think of: ADP, IDP, or not ADP, DFS, IDP, Devi, Dynasty, redraft strategies, expert mock draft, and then we're having some kind of learning things. So like Joe Bryan and them are going to put on a thing called Getting Started in Fantasy Football. So they're going to just answer questions. Hey, what should I do? How do I get noticed? Because I think that these are important things. We're going to have a women in fantasy. So we're going to have a panel of women who have, moved up in various stages to talk to other women or just tell them how they got, did their thing. So it's not just, I think that's what, and this one, again, that one was Joe Bryan's idea. He goes, Bob, I want to sponsor a panel about people getting started. Because last year, so many people got hired. Like NBC Sports, I think, hired half their staff just from the expo last year.
They did.
None of those guys, Lawrence Jackson and all those guys, none of them were working for them until that weekend was over. And that makes me feel great because it's like, that's not why this event's there. But if it's part of it, that's fantastic, right? So, like you guys said, you guys met there, and here you are together. So that's just an added bonus, right? So. And then all of those panels and breakout sessions will be recorded this year and uploaded. So if you have an account, you will be able to watch any of the ones you missed afterwards for free.
Hell yeah. Nice. I like that's smart. Some would say about me and George, we're inseparable now. After Canton.
Is that your wives?
I know George has more questions. I have one. When I logged on to buy my ticket, I choked. All right, I choked. And I bought just the regular ticket, nothing else included. And then a few weeks later, I was like, I want to go to the Hall of Fame. So I bought the Hall of Fame ticket. And I have my shirt last year. I don't have a shirt this year. Is there a link that you could just log? Because you said the shirts might be sold out. You can't get your size. Is there a link where you could log on and just buy the shirt?
Yeah. I mean, you can log into your same account and then just go. And you can buy just a shirt.
I'm going to buy just a shirt. I'm doing it after the show.
Yeah.
You got to have a shirt, man.
Right.
Yeah.
And if you want to buy extra shirts, one for your wife, your kids, your, whoever.
George.
Just all I care is that we have the sizes so you don't miss out on getting the right one.
So Trophy Smack, Matt, if you're watching, this ring finger right here is a size 13. Get it ready for me, buddy.
Guess what? They're all the same size and they're all huge. You're never going to wear them. I've seen them.
Trophy Smack is awesome. They donated the rings for Drafting Out last year as well.
Yeah.
Big shout out to them. This may sound cheesy, but I don't think it is. How excited do you get when you see people posting on Twitter like, I met this person at the expo and whatnot? Because like a lot of people we interact with on social media and Twitter and whatnot, but actually getting to meet these people live and in person is totally different. So, and knowing that you literally are the main facilitator for that happening, how does that make you feel?
It really is what this, when I first started doing this and I came up with this idea, it was more about there's a need, I need to fill it, right? We needed a fantasy football expo at our level, not at $1,000 a thing, but everybody could go, everybody could afford it. After that first year, when we had the party of EW3s and all these people were emailing me or DMing me after that week, and they were like, "Oh my gosh, Bob, Mike Clay is coming on my podcast." Like, I never in a million years would have even asked him, because I figured he would just not only not respond to me, but probably tell me that, I'm a worthless, nothing in this industry. Why would I waste my time? And so the stories and the messages from that first event, when we did it and everybody got to meet, everybody kind of saw that we're all a team to this, Yeah, some of us are better team players than others, but we're the RB2s where they're the RB1s. But that is what kind of that was a bonus. So yeah, every time I see that or somebody says that or thanks me for that, that's a bonus. I mean, this was all about fantasy football and learning and everybody sharing their ideas and having a good time and enjoying Canton, Ohio, because I love it here and it's great. All of this stuff. I mean, probably one of the best things from last year was there was a gentleman, and I always forget his name, but he wrote an article and posted it on the internet and then shared it on Twitter. But basically, the story he wrote was that he had terrible anxiety with people and crowds. Terrible. Like, he barely goes to the grocery store.
You're talking about.
Yeah, and this guy wrote how he really didn't want to go, and literally forced himself to go to the expo. And at the end of the weekend, he said, like, everybody was so nice, and that really meant a lot to me that he did that, but that everybody kind of not played along. We're exactly the people we thought we were, right? They were real. They weren't, he never felt like he was talked down to, and he never felt like he was an outcast. People didn't make him sit in the corner because he was uncool or, not whatever, not outgoing. No, people treated him like we all should treat each other, right?
Yeah.
So, yeah, that's always been a big thing for me.
Which is a blessing, because things can get ugly, when there's competition involved online and people are behind computers. So it is a beautiful thing when people can get together in person and people know how to act and people know how to treat each other, like respect.
The one thing I've said is you won't see any trolls at these events, at this event.
Right.
Because they would just get destroyed. It wouldn't be ugly. It would just be ugly. They know better. Those people, like you said, they hide behind the computers.
Yep.
They're not going to show up at this event, start bad mouthing Mike Clay or or something like that, like they will do on Twitter,
right,
and other people. So and that's what I think is, that live face to face certainly makes a big difference from that standpoint.
So, do you think eventually we'll start seeing NFL players come to this, like not active because it's during the time where the start of their season is going, they're all reporting for camp, but like, let's say when he steps away from the game, like an Austin Eckler, who's, very active with fantasy. He's outspoken about it. AJ Dillon, D'Artagnan Evans, like these guys play fantasy. They don't hide about it and whatnot. Do you see a point where the Expo gets to the point where these guys, former players start coming to to this type of event?
I mean, obviously I would be honored if they came. Here's the thing and I don't want to come off in any kind of bad fashion here, but there are quite a few people in the Hall of Fame world, in the fantasy, and that have been part of fantasy prior to this. I have spoken to them about attending because I know that they enjoy it, but it comes with a very big price tag.
Yeah,
they're not coming for free.
No,
I mean, and so. If Austin Eckler, after he retires, says, Bob, I want to come to the Expo, how do I do that? I'll give him free tickets, I'll give him a hotel, I'll give him whatever he wants, but I'm not dropping $20,000.
Yeah, no, and it is super expensive. So when we did the SportsCon event, we looked into getting, some of the people that were going to the SportsCon event afterwards to come over, hang out at Draft Night Out. And like you said, they wanted thousands and thousands of dollars to come, and it was like, it's just not feasible.
Right. And again, I have no problem if somebody wants to come. I mean, but I'm not, I'd rather spend the money on the people that are there and the events that we're doing together. I'd rather spend that money making that better because I think it's a better investment of investing in us than, oh, look, here's Warren Moon or here's Austin Eckler, or here's whoever.
Right.
Yeah.
Not
That's
that
a
they're not
novelty.
good people. Warren Moon's a great person. Every year he asks me for my consistency guide. He loves it. And I asked him about coming to the expo, and I got a price tag, and I'm like,
Right.
Right. No, I wouldn't pay anybody to come. That's
right.
just not worth it.
Tom Everett Scott almost came this year. He's the guy from the movie actor from the movies and TV, and he can't make it. He sent me an email just recently, said, "Oh man, schedule's just not going to work." I see more of that. I can see some of those people coming because they're in Scott Fishbowl already, and they might come over time. And if they do that, and the funny thing is, I think that most people will treat them just like we're meeting you and us.
Yep.
To be honest, most people don't even know who Tom Everett Scott is if I don't explain it to them. No disrespect to him by any stretch, but I'm just saying, unless you saw, that movie with the Wonders and Tom Hanks, you may not recognize him.
Yep.
But if they want to come, I mean, that's what it's an event for whoever wants to show up, right?
So one thing that people had said last year is that the X, and I hate that it was labeled this, and that this was even thought that it was only for. Yep, that it was an event for analysts only, and it wasn't an event for fans. And listen, I'm a fan, right? I am an analyst, yes. I am more of a fan than an analyst, right?
Yeah,
like I don't make a single penny doing this. I do this because it's a hobby. I enjoy it.
Mm-hmm.
I love it. But I'm a fan first. So what do we do to get that stigma that this is an event for fans?
You just answered your own question, my friend. You just answered your own question. And that's exactly what I tell people, because I get this question in a lot of the interviews and podcasts I've been on. I go, look, we're all fans.
Yeah.
In my opinion, that is a 100% fan-attended event. We're all fans. Right. I've been a subscriber to Football Guys for the last 20 years. I told Joe Bryan that. He's like, what? I go, dude, you have the best site around. I go, the information and the analysis. I mean, yeah, I have my consistency stuff. I get that. But I still don't know anything about IDP. I don't know anything about, best ball. I mean, I don't do a lot of DFS. So I rely on you guys. And I would hope that in the same well that somebody's buying my consistency guide because they're relying on my consistency guide, and they may work for another site. They're fans of me, and that's great. So yeah, it's like it kind of caught me off guard when the first person said that last year, and I went, what? And then it's like, then I came up with wait a minute, we're all fans, So that's my answer now, and it may sound cliche, but it's really real, George. And you said the same thing, and Coach, I'm sure you're a subscriber and buy magazines and get data for stuff that you're not.
We geek out. We geek out. Like George is like the GM. Like he's very good at bringing in guests that like we all look up to. Like when he mentioned like a month and a half ago, 2 months ago, we were bringing you on. Like I've been geeking out. So like to me,
well, thank you.
He has too.
We do this. We do this for an opportunity just to talk to people like you and to hear you compare yourself then to other analysts and say that you're fans of them. It's like it's like a circle. You know what I mean? But for sure, I'm a huge fan.
Yeah,
and then also just to the game in general, like I hear people say sometimes like my fantasy team before my NFL team, like no way. Like no way. I will take a Cowboys win over a fantasy football team win any day of the week. And sometimes I'm sick. I'll start a player against the Cowboys and I'll hope he flops. Like if that's the price I have to pay. Like I think like things work like that. I'll take that for a Cowboys win. So man, I'm a fan first.
Yeah, I'm a little greedy there as a Browns fan. I always tell people, I would get that question when I would be interviewed locally, and somebody said, "Well, how the heck can you?" I think the first week, I think it was when Tony Romo was playing, and they said, "Well, first game it's Browns versus the Cowboys, and you have Tony Romo. So what are you thinking when you go into as a Browns fan? Come on, man." And I said,
Right.
"Look, the Browns win 31-28. Tony Romo throws 4 touchdowns.
Everybody wins.
Everybody wins.
wins.
Yeah.
And guess what? If Tony Romo throws 4 touchdowns because the Browns suck anyway and they're going to get killed, then I still win something. Because the Browns don't win that much. This is back when they really were bad.
It was a close game, I think, though. Like, it was surprisingly close. I remember.
Yeah.
And we came back and win at the end. But it was. I don't think it was a good one.
Most of Northeast Ohio to sell their soul for a Browns Super Bowl, for God's sakes. I would give up every championship I've ever won in fantasy for a Browns Super Bowl win, but not going to happen. So.
You never know, right? We
never know.
We got. This is the off season. Something I say all the time. The off season is the season of optimism. If you cannot be optimistic in the off season, then what do you got to be? Because in season, like if you're a realist like me, it hits you in the face quick. You know, like after a few weeks, what your team is and what they're capable of, and then it's a long year. So enjoy the off season.
Unless your quarterback is $230 million quarterback is getting sued by 28 women.
Man. Yeah, well, that's a different. Well, that's a different. That's a different circumstance.
At that point.
Oh my God. Well, you know what? I didn't think about that because that's not something that's it's not precedented. It's unprecedented in the league. All right. So if you want to go, if there's people at home listening to this, and I know George knows we've signed up before, but talk them through the process of signing up for the Fantasy Football Expo this year.
It's so easy. So just go to thefantasyfootballexpo.com. There's a button right at the top that says buy tickets. Click on that. I mean, we obviously want you to spend the whole weekend. Make sure you don't miss out on any fun. So get the weekend package, which gets you admission into the Friday party, Saturday party, ticket to the Pro Football Hall of Fame, so you can visit that Saturday during the day. I think there's only about 10 or 12 spots in draftnightout.com. Go do that. That's on a separate part of the site, so it's not included in the package, but still make sure you do that. And they're almost sold out. That gets you into the Saturday night party, gets you in the expo all day. Again, you'll have access to all the videos after the fact, free of charge to watch if you missed, one of the events, one of the panels while you're at a different one. And just come and enjoy yourself. Thursday, if you're coming in Thursday night, a lot of people coming in Thursday night. We'll be meeting at the bar at the DoubleTree Hotel, and so I don't. You guys probably don't know this, but I got to tell you. So last year, just to tell you what kind of impact we made, you want to guess how much we spent in those 2 days at that bar and food and drinks?
Tell us.
I'm going to guess upwards of $500.
$500?
Yeah.
Try 28,000.
28,000.
Okay, hold on.
See, that's why I didn't guess, because I didn't want to look like an idiot. Because George looked like an idiot, and I didn't. I didn't have to do that.
I thought Bob was talking about him specifically.
I
didn't think he was talking about all of everybody that was attending the expo. No, I would have guessed a lot larger number for the expo because, like I said, I was there. I seen what people were ordering for Draft Night Out, so I easily would have went over 500. Right. I thought it was just Bob and like his small circle of friends on Thursday night. I'm like, they probably dropped 500 on Thursday night alone, easy.
So the people working at that bar cannot wait for you to come back.
Well,
Kevin is so looking forward to it.
But here's the thing. So I assume we're going to smash that record, and here's why. I just met with the hotel last week, and they promised me. If you remember, there was only 2 bartenders all Friday night.
Yep.
And the poor guys are busting their ass, but still as many people were there. So this year they promised there'll be 2 additional bar stations with drinks so that we don't have to overwhelm that person. So I'm thinking we can easily hit 35 to 40,000. That's
easy.
Here's a social experiment. I do not drink. And I'll be interested to see how maybe the fact that there were only 2 bartenders last year might have been a good thing. We'll know. We'll know.
Yeah.
That's
when half
there
the
might be
people
some.
are in the hospital overnight getting their stomachs bumped.
Well, we'll see. We'll see. Or maybe people can handle themselves. All right. So you kind of touched on this a little bit. We still haven't heard best burger yet. So I'm hoping you're still marinating on that. But besides the Hall of Fame, what other things, if you are coming in Thursday night, maybe someone's coming in Wednesday night, who knows? What are some other things you recommend people checking out?
Within Canton, and I love Canton, and as you guys have already figured that out. But the one thing I will say is a lot of people don't remember this, but the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame is only an hour away in Cleveland, Ohio.
Okay.
If you're a music fan at all, and I know a lot of people who fly back on Monday are usually a little bit later in the day, they'll actually go up and go to the Rock Hall because it's closer to the airport anyway. And they spend 4 or 5 hours at the Rock Hall. And I'm a member every year. Like I buy the membership every year. So I go almost all the time because they always change the big things around. Like right now, if you're a Beatles fan, it's all Beatles, and it's just amazing. Some of the stuff you can see there. That's definitely a cool thing. Within Canton, there's a lot of things to do, but the problem is my goal is to keep you so busy you don't have time to do anything else. It's kind of like Hall of Fame weekend, Me
and my son last year, we found an arcade, with old pinball machines, and the guys were going to do. I forget what it's called. We might stop by there this year. We went out for breakfast Saturday morning, went to the Hall of Fame, and then everybody went and did some stuff, and we went and played some old but it was awesome. They were kept in real good condition. So if you like arcades, you can find one. I don't know what it's called, but you can find it somewhere.
They actually just opened up what's called F1 racing. It's like indoor kart racing.
Stop it.
That's brand new. They just opened that 6 months ago. I haven't been there yet, but for your kid, that might be a super cool thing to do. You can drive the little kind of like you could do it in an outside ring, but it's all inside.
Yeah. I'm in.
That's brand new. So that'll be a lot of fun. A lot of people go and do karaoke some nights over at the local bars, and it's just lots of fun things to do. But yeah, it's but again, the idea is to keep everybody so busy that within the atmosphere of the expo part that it's kind of hard for them to have too much time. But I think there's some people coming in Thursday. They're going to play golf. Somebody wants to have a bowling thing. I think we could turn this into a week-long event if we really try.
Man, I'll tell you. So I am the OCD organizer at Toilets to Titles. George can attest to that. So I have a schedule of events. So you have a Fantasy Football Expo schedule events. I have a Toilets to Titles schedules events. I kind of teased at this earlier. So Friday night, we got 3 things. Saturday, there's about 8 things. And then there's Sunday. So and these are all related to the Fantasy Football Expo, but in between things, I'm trying to organize times where we can get together, have dinner, have breakfast, and then we branch out, man. So I'm trying to squeeze it in there, but we are so excited. And the thing is, this is going to keep going. So what we don't do this year, there's going to be more to do next year. Maybe the crew will be bigger next year. We got Rich in the chat. We got Nino in the chat and Chuck in the chat. They're all from Toilets to Titles. They all want to go out there. They couldn't make it this year, but we're going to keep hopefully expanding. And hopefully we're going to continue to come out there, man. And we are really looking forward to it. But George, do you have any more questions for Bob before we wrap this up?
I do, and it's got absolutely nothing to do with the expo.
Okay.
It does, but it really doesn't. There's a winery or a vineyard that's close to Canton. Yeah. What is the name of that?
It's called Gervasi. Gervasi. And I think
Coach,
the website
did you write that
literally
down?
No, I don't drink.
GervasiVineyards.com.
I don't know.
I kind of forgot about that. It is my wife's favorite place, and she's standing off to the side of me right now, probably giving me the look because I forgot to bring it up. It's one of the best places to go. If you're bringing your significant other, wife, girlfriend, or both, send them there.
So we went there last year, and I don't drink either, Coach. But we went to this. We went to this vineyard last year for dinner. Mm-hmm. Absolutely fantastic food. And then there was a couple other guys that were at the expo that were there, and we had this lady. I think you might have seen this on Twitter, Bob. There was this lady who was swearing up and down one of the guys, and I wish I could remember what site they were with, but she swore up and down that he was some big YouTube star. So they all played, like a YouTube star. So they started playing into it like he was a YouTube star. And this lady's like, "Oh, my son's your biggest fan." They went down by the water, took pictures with her, and just absolutely made her day. And they had a couple guys that were pretending to be security, and it was absolutely fantastic. But that vineyard, Coach, we got to go there on Sunday night. It is absolutely fantastic.
I'm in.
Food.
I'm in.
Yeah,
so you know what? I didn't write it down, but the blessing of recording a podcast is we can go back and listen to it.
Exactly. so that's all I had. I couldn't remember.
Thank you for reminding me about Gervasi. I should have brought that up. I forgot.
Yeah, honestly, it is absolutely fantastic. I was skeptical when we went because I don't drink, but I didn't need to. It was absolutely awesome.
It's in the middle of like a just residential area, and then you drive back the driveway into it, and you literally are just transported into like Italy. Like it's the marble, the pillars, and the tile, and just everything.
Yeah, we didn't sit inside.
They got a hotel. They have a distillery. They have their own crush house. They have their own vineyard. They have this beautiful lake that you can sit out, and waiters will come out to you and wait on you.
That's what we did.
You think it'll be acceptable for us to show up there, George?
Oh yeah, we were accepted last year. Absolutely.
Yeah. Oh yeah. No. Yeah. Don't take your money. No,
there you go.
As long as you got money, they'll let you in. That's what we did. We sat outside last year. It was fantastic. That was all I had.
Man,
the name of that place.
There was so much good stuff in here. If you're listening at home, hopefully we will see you at the Fantasy Football Expo. Go ahead, follow Bob at Bob_Lung, and make sure you follow the Fantasy Football Expo at the FF Expo to keep track of what's going on, how to sign up, how to get in there. I know I'm going to buy myself a t-shirt. I don't know why I got in there and I froze. Options. I saw options and I took the first option. I'm like, wait.
What you got to do is buy the weekend ticket package. You get everything.
That's what I should have done. And then, because I'm going to the Hall of Fame anyway. What the hell am I thinking? I crumbled under pressure. It's a Cowboys thing. What can I say? All right. But if you are watching at home, it'd be greatly appreciated. Hit the like and subscribe button. Throw some comments. If you have Apple Podcasts, if you're subscribed to the show, 5-star review would be greatly appreciated. You also have a Patreon, patreon.com/toilets to titles. Join the title tribe. All right, we got like 5 tiers, all sorts of cool stuff. Tier 1 is about the cost of a cup of coffee a month, and it gets you into our group chat on Discord, and we're very active in there. So, Bob, man, do you have anything you want to tell prospective Fantasy Football Expo goers before we wrap this up?
Don't wait. Get your tickets. I still have people that are asking me for hotel rooms because a lot of them have turned off the discount rate. I'm like, you're 17 days away. What are you doing? So if you procrastinated this long, don't wait. Like I said, August 1st, we will be ordering the shirts with all the sizes that people ordered. And if you wait till after August 1st, if you're large and extra large, you'll probably be safe. But if you're unique, small, or
if you're my size,
I'm XL. So Bob, is it normal practice for you? So last year, I feel like we were like emailing back and forth. And I met you outside the hotel to pick up, my son's stuff and my stuff, our name tag. So you like every single person, you hand out their stuff individually when they show up there?
Yeah, I mean, so we're going to do a little bit differently. Same concept. So anybody who's coming in town, if you're not staying at the DoubleTree, which you probably aren't because we sold that out in 7 days last February, come to the DoubleTree Hotel to get your swag bag packages, and we're going to put everything in the bag. So your shirt, your lanyards, your name card, the ticket to the Hall of Fame, all the swag bag items, which is all the coupons, everything will be there, and we're just going to hand you the bag. So last year we kind of was putting things together and pulling them out of things and pulling the t-shirts out of it, kind of putting it together as we were doing it. This year
I felt special.
Try to be a little bit different, a little bit easier for everybody. But yeah, and we'll be there. I'll be there Thursday night. My wife and I will be there all day Friday. Kids will be there all day Saturday, like from 9 to 4, 9 to 5. And DM me on Twitter. I check. My phone's always in my hand that whole weekend. So like, hey, if you're like, Bob, look, not going to make it. Somebody sent me a thing earlier, like, hey, I'm not going to make it in time to pick up my bag before the party on Friday. and the party starts at 6. And I said, that's fine. Just show up at the front desk there at the Centennial Plaza. I said, my wife will be doing check-in. Just give me your name. And if your name's on the list, we'll just give you the wristband and you can go in. So you don't really need to have it. You don't need to have it, right? I mean, as long as you're on the list, you're fine and you'll get in. Because we are renting. So we have the whole place to ourselves this year. Last year we shared it with the general public. This year it's all ours.
Man, expansion. All right, well, it's a beautiful thing. So I look forward to meeting you again this year in person.
Thanks,
George,
guys.
I can't wait to see you. I can't wait to see,
sir.
everybody we're going to bump into, man. This is going to be a phenomenal weekend. I mean, my son, he's 10, and this is going to be his second season. And I have to tell you this. He's been playing soccer for the last 3 or 4 years. I'm a football coach. I live, eat, breathe football. Like it's in my blood. And last year, the turning point, like he's seen me in front of a TV for the last, since he was a baby. And last year was the year where he made the shift, where football became like, after we left Ken, he knows players' names and he's playing flag football. And so it's a beautiful thing. And this Fantasy Football Expo has a lot to do with it. We might have never made it to Ken. We might have never made it to the Hall of Fame. So thanks for putting it together, Bob. Again, thanks for everybody who's listening at home. And hopefully we will hear from you. See you soon. Take care. Catch you next week.
All right. Thanks, guys. Thanks for having me.
Thanks, Bob.